Right. We got Ari?
Yep.
All right.
Maybe Ari got a quarterback saved up somewhere for us
Can
in
Ari
New York.
pull a quarterback out
Please,
of his
Ari.
rear end?
Help me out.
Let's go now and talk to Ari Meirov from the 33rd team, kind enough to join us, covers the NFL for them. Ari, just a collective gasp from every football fan that really wanted to see this. Just your overall reaction to Aaron Rodgers is what?
Yeah, let me try to paint this picture. I watched last night's game with a bunch of Jets fans, and being in that household last night was pretty miserable, if I'm going to be honest. It was, even though they won the game and even though all that happened, it was just the coming out with the flag was amazing. The atmosphere was incredible. First play, handoff, Brees Hall, amazing. Everyone's going crazy. And then all of a sudden, a couple of hits, and then, of course, the Achilles happens, and everyone goes quiet. And everyone's refreshing Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. And it gets to a point where he's questionable, to he's out, to the fear is Achilles, to it is an Achilles. And even with the win and dramatic win, and defense was great, special team was great, receivers were great, running backs were great, it got to a point where a city for the last 5 months was building all this excitement and building all this buzz that it all just went straight down the drain in a heartbeat. And it just sucks. And really, every NFL fan has been tuning in and getting ready for this thing, to see Aaron Rodgers in a Jets uniform with this team. And just like that, it's gone. It really is. It really is gut-wrenching. Like, it really, really does suck. Not just if you're a Jets fan, but really if you're an NFL fan. We really wanted to see how he does in that conference, in that division, and all of a sudden it's gone. And the Jets are now looking for some other options aside from Zach Wilson, who's going to be QB1 for now.
Look, here in Detroit, you're not going to find too many Aaron Rodgers fans being with what he did in the Packers all those years. But there's even us here, we're like, no. I mean, you just feel so bad for the guy. It's horrible. I don't want this to be the last time I see Aaron Rodgers. He is 39 years old. Do you think he comes back from this, Ari? Is that his plan? I'm sure there's a lot to digest for him and a plan moving forward, but does your gut tell you he comes back next year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't want to speak for him, but I think going into this time with the Jets, mentally, he has never been at a better place in his life. I mean, we saw all the behind-the-scenes videos, the hard knock stuff, and all those different things, and you saw how he came in, was with his teammates, really took everyone under his wing, became a true leader, and people's opinions on him changed regardless of what fan you were. It felt like everyone was like, wow, we like this Aaron Rodgers guy. So from a mental standpoint, for this to happen, it's not easy. The rehab process is hard. It's annoying. There are times where you feel like you just want to end it already. And for a guy like him, who's going to be 40 in December and has made as much money as he has, he's going to have those thoughts in his mind. Do I really, really need this anymore? So I hope it's not the way it ends. I mean, his contract, if you want to look at the numbers, he is obligated to the Jets for 2 years with fully guaranteed money going into next year. But ultimately, it's going to be his decision. But he has invested so much time and effort in building those relationships that there's a gut feeling in me that it's like, if he's able to properly recover from this serious injury and he's going to be ready around training camp after the long rehab process, why not give it one more go and try to go out on top? Because as we saw last night, running game, receivers, defense, special team, the Jets have it all. They just need a star quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers is a star quarterback if he can be healthy.
They also need a couple of offensive linemen, because 3 of the plays, two of them he was down on his butt, and one of them cost him possibly his career. And if they only blocked a little bit better instead of trying to chop block their way through that, Ari, it really sucks. But I want to ask you, you know a lot better than we do, and you do a great job for the 33rd team. But what quarterbacks are possible to come here? Ryan and I just threw out Kirk
16
Cousins.
guys?
We did. But you know what? We threw out Kirk Cousins' name. I mean, Minnesota lost 7 starters, and they're not better than they were last year. And they lost their first one-score game already. We know how they did last year. But Kirk Cousins' name, to me, would be intriguing. How much is he locked into that team, and who else can we even think about?
Yeah, I think this is going to take some time to develop, honestly. Like, I like the Cousins idea, but he has one more year left on his contract. He's going to be a free agent after this season, but the Vikings are going into this year expecting to win. So I would be shocked if he becomes a name that's available from right now, as we're sitting here after week one. The guys that would make sense are guys who are free agents, like a Carson Wentz, who the Jets GM Joe Douglas actually helped draft in Philadelphia. And then in terms of guys on other teams, you have to look at teams who really have three quarterbacks and will be willing to part ways with one. I floated the idea of Case Keenum, who's in Houston, has big game experience, played pretty well in the preseason, would fit in that Jets offense to back up Zach Wilson for now. And in case Zach doesn't play well, he could be the guy. Ryan Tannehill is probably the most interesting name from guys who are currently starters. The reason I bring him up, obviously, he had the three interceptions on Sunday. Tennessee has Malik Willis and Will Levis behind him. He has 1 year remaining on his contract, and the Titans considered moving on from him this offseason. And while those talks were happening, the Jets were looking into him as well before they were able to get Aaron Rodgers. And the Jets actually hired his former offensive coordinator, Todd Downing, on that offensive coaching staff. So there would be also familiarity there. So if Tennessee's season doesn't go the way they expect, I think that's a name from all the starters out there that would make some sense. But I can't see Kirk Cousins. I can't see Matthew Stafford. Definitely not right now. But moving forward from all the quote unquote starters right now going into week two, the one that maybe could make sense, and it's me thinking out loud, would probably be Ryan Tannehill.
Ari, I have to ask, even if it's just a flat no, is there any chance that there is even a call lobbed off to Tom Brady?
It's a great question. I've seen all the tweets. I've seen all uniform changes that these graphic designers do. I'm sure they'll call Donnie, the agent, but I just can't see it happening. It would be a funny story. It would be hilarious, especially after him getting honored in New England, but it would be a major upset if that happened. The NFL scriptwriters would be going into their bag if that happened.
Talking to Ari Meirov, covers the NFL for the 33rd team. Ari, I want to go to the other team that played last night, the Buffalo Bills. They look terrible. Josh Allen looks terrible. What happened to him?
You know, it's amazing that you bring that up, and it's true. And I think the best thing that happened to Josh Allen last night, and it's crazy to say, but this Aaron Rodgers stuff happening was probably the best thing happening to him, because the talk of every network right now is Aaron Rodgers and not how bad Josh Allen was. And really, the excuse last year, the narrative last year was Buffalo went through so much. You had the snowstorms, you had the Damar Hamlin situation, you had the elbow injury. He'll bounce back this year. And then in week one, 4 turnovers, does not look like the Josh Allen that we all know, and people are panicking. For me, they play the Raiders in week two. The Raiders secondary, I wouldn't consider it to be one of the better secondaries in the NFL. The Jets defense, as we all know, is stacked. If it keeps on happening against the Raiders in week two, I think it's a discussion to have. I still think Buffalo is legit. I still think they actually win the AFC East. But there is a bit of a concern there.
How decisive that.
Ari, I also want to ask you about our team here in Detroit. They're playing a Seahawks team that seems to be pretty banged up. They signed a 67-year-old offensive lineman today to kind of compete or play on Sunday. But just your take on the Lions win over the Chiefs in week one, and the team that is coming in here to Detroit on Sunday, the Seattle Seahawks.
Before I answer the Lions, are you guys able to hear me well, just out of curiosity? Is it coming off
I hear
well?
you perfectly.
Yeah, perfectly.
All right, great. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I mean, I was, listen, I mean, you guys know how much I love the Detroit Lions and what they're building. Thursday night was that was just a stamp of approval of what they've been doing the last couple of years. So I am, very happy to see what happened on Thursday night for them to go into Kansas City, beat up the Chiefs. I know Chris Jones and Travis Kelce were not there, but I don't really care. There is no asterisk there. Please don't say that. And now you get Seattle coming off a loss. We know how good Seattle was last year. They did not look like that last week against the Rams, against a team that many people are not really high on, and they're banged up. I mean, their offensive linemen on both sides are not are trending towards not playing, I would say. Devon Witherspoon, who Detroit liked in the draft, should be back. Jamal Adams could be back. So they might be getting some reinforcements on defense. But this Lions team on offense, especially the offensive line, which is finally getting some love nationally because they are just so, so good. And then defensively, they also stepped up in a big way. They have a nice plethora of pass rushers. Aiden Hutchinson looks like he really took that next step. They might get Emmanuel Mosley back this week. The secondary looks great. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson brings a fire that really every defense in the NFL would love to have. This is a team, and you hate to overreact after week one, but this is a team that I am just so, so high on. And it was just satisfying to see what happened in week one. And if they're able to do it again now in week two in a home opener where, as Dan Campbell said, it's going to be packed and it's going to be loud there in week two. Repeat it again, and they're going to be getting a lot more love than they've been getting up until now. They just got to keep on staying focused from there because, like we saw in week one, the NFC North is there for their takings because this right now on paper is by far, in my opinion, the best team in that division.
Amen. And I know the chat is loving what you're saying right now too, Ari. I wanted to ask you about, just go around the NFL a little bit. That Dallas Cowboy New York Giant fiasco on Sunday night. Are the Giants that bad, or are the Cowboys that good?
Yeah, it's a great question, Tom. I mean, I would say the Cowboys are really good. I don't know if they're that good, and the Giants are definitely not that bad. I mean, I thought the Giants would be a potential playoff caliber team this year. I thought what they did last year was amazing, considering the roster, but at the same time, they had a really easy schedule. I think it was the easiest schedule in the NFL going into the year, and they took advantage of it. But the way they played on Sunday night is not the team I was expecting. This is a team that added so many weapons, and they paid so many players. Darren Waller, Jalen Hyatt, Paris Campbell. They drafted a few guys, a center, a corner, Bobby Okereke, a linebacker. This is a team that they finally put their own guys on this roster after inheriting the team last year, and that was not the team I was expecting. The offensive line is a problem to me. I'm really, really worried about it. Their best offensive lineman, Andrew Thomas, is now dealing with a hamstring injury, which is very concerning because if he's not out there, I mean, God help Daniel Jones because it's going to be a real mess for him. But it's really, you hate saying a win now game for a team. They're going into Arizona this week. They need to beat Arizona because if they don't beat Arizona, they're going to San Francisco week 3. They're staring at 0-3. So they got.
No,
sorry, a call came in. And in Dallas, I mean, I love that team. They really made a lot of enforcements on the offense, of Brandon Cooks, Stephon Gilmore, and Dak Prescott. Mike McCarthy looked really good. What they did on Sunday night, I don't think it's sustainable. I think that was way too good. But this is a team everyone said that they are going to be NFC contenders, and I think they will be. And they proved it on Sunday night.
All right, what two teams surprised you the most? I mean, surprised you in a really good way and surprised you in a really, oh man, bad way?
Surprised me in a good way. I would probably let me start with I want to start with the bad way. I think Pittsburgh. I mean, I know they played San Francisco,
good
but
call.
I was expecting way more out of Pittsburgh going into the season, and for them to lay an egg like that in week 1 against the 49ers at home, it just was disappointing. Like we saw Kenny Pickett in the preseason, and he looked amazing, and that was just not Kenny Pickett. I know they play the 49ers, and that defense is amazing, but it was just not the team I was expecting, and that was a bit of a disappointment for me. And
this happens now on the VMix.
Ari's a popular guy. He's getting a call in. He's getting a call in.
A call.
It's fine. We'll wait for the ringer to go away. Oh, there he is right there.
Oh,
hey!
I'm sorry.
You're
I'm
popular.
Sorry.
You're a popular guy, Ari.
It's all right, Ari.
Good.
I keep on getting
Steelers.
calls. I'm sorry.
You were on the Steelers.
Yeah, so that was by far the most disappointing one. Hopefully I don't get another call over here. But that was probably the most disappointing one. And the one that was a bit unexpected to me, I mean, I would probably go the Rams. I mean, This is a team that after Stafford, Donald, and Kupp didn't even play, I think the average fan can name 5 more players on that team. And they just went in and just beat up the Seahawks in Seattle. And it was very impressive. And this Rams team going into the year, they were like, we're getting Sean McVay back, and people are doubting Sean McVay. And I think he had this game in particular circled, and he went in there, and with receivers that Tutu Atwell and this undrafted guy who most people haven't heard of getting 10 catches, They went in there and blew the doors off Seattle. So that one was by far the most shocking one to me.
The Bengals, to me, really played poorly. I know Cleveland played really well and they were home, but the way Cincinnati looked, that was a little surprising to me as well. Are they going to look that bad next week?
Well, let me remind everyone that week 1 of last year, Joe Burrow had 5 interceptions, and they still almost beat the Steelers. And then in week 2, the Bengals lost to Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys. They started the year 0-2. I am not worried about the Bengals. I think we've seen this script before. They start 0-1. They've had, for whatever reason, struggles with the Browns. They're, I think, 1-5 in the last 6 games against them. I don't know what the reason is there, but I'm not worried about the Bengals. I've seen this before. Joe Burrow is awesome. Jamar Chase is awesome. D. Higgins is awesome. The offensive line will figure it out. I'm not concerned with them at all.
Hey, Ari, we can't thank you enough, man, for joining us on a very busy day. We clearly see that you are busy and getting a lot of requests, so thanks for doing this with us. Follow Ari on Twitter at MySports, or on X, at MySportsUpdate, and, of course, covers the NFL for the 33rd team. You can follow them on Twitter or on X at the 33rd Team FB. Thank you so much, Ari. Hope to talk to you again down the road here.
Thanks, friend.